Welcome in to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Live here on this Monday. We appreciate you starting your Monday here with us. Hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We got a jam-packed Monday for you. We'll react to all the news, including Ole Miss winning the national championship. We got a text into Ben Mintz, but if you're keeping up with Mintz on social media, he is either coming down off the bender or he is finally asleep. Because it looked like he had a wild night after Ole Miss wins the national championship. We'll talk about that. Huge LSU baseball weekend. Enormous weekend, really, for LSU athletics. We'll talk all about it coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Glen West is going to stop by from Go 247. The big fellow will be here at 7:30 this morning. At 8:15, we'll talk to Big Ben McDonald. A lot of tall people on the show today. Our guests are tall. Glen West, 6'10". Big Ben, about 6'8". We will talk to both of them coming up here today on the Jordy Culotta Show. Why was Ben McDonald not on the national championship call?
Who did they have on the broadcast instead?
Chris Burke.
They brought Burke in? Maybe he had Orioles duty. I feel like that comes first before he has to do College World Series duty. But as always, I feel like the College World Series call was great. Ben McDonald is probably one of the better ones that they have. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it. But Kyle Peterson just sounds like college baseball. I feel like they did a great job of coverage. I fell in love with the umpire cam. I watched every game like that.
Gonzalez's home run from that point of view was
unbelievable. I saw back to back to back, all from the umpire's point of view.
Katie is here. Lloyd is here. Stewie is here. Bree and Jamil are here as well on this Monday. Remember, our phone lines are brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions. Go Chevrolet drives us every single day. Online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. Used cars here in Baton Rouge at Go Express Auto Sales. And then, of course, a brand new car lot out in LaPlace at Go Chevrolet.
Lloyd's been up at Go Chevrolet.
That's right, Lizzie.
That's right. Whip. New whip, baby. New whip, back in action. Just got to get that thing insured, bro. I'm a danger to society on the road.
Easy.
Watch yourself.
Well, it was
you start telling all your secrets.
I was just driving around the neighborhood.
Back into
make sure it worked.
All right, so we'll talk to Big Ben McDonald, and we'll also talk to Glen West coming up here. Big recruiting weekend for LSU football. We'll touch on that as well coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Like we said, if you don't mind, hit that like button, share button, comment button. Katie?
Yes?
Thought about you a lot over the weekend.
I've prepared a statement.
Okay. Oh, wow. It's already written?
I would like to congratulate all my friends at Ole Miss for the feeling of winning a national championship. I know they've never experienced that before, and I experienced it last year, and it is such a good feeling. And I'm just really happy that I have friends in the state that are also able to experience that kind of feeling. It's an elation like no other.
I was taking a picture. I was going to tweet it out.
So that's my statement. That's all I have to say about it.
Does the national championship gear hit as hard as it did yesterday?
Yeah, because I did it first.
Yeah.
So I'll always have
You will
that.
always have that.
I'll always
You
have
will
that.
always have that. But Ole Miss yesterday completed its miracle turnaround with a 4-2 win over Oklahoma to capture their first national championship in men's college baseball. The Rebels were the last team selected with an at-large bid to compete in the NCAA tournament after starting 7-14 in SEC play. Ole Miss went on to win 18 of their final 22 games, including sweeps down in Miami. They swept through the Southern Miss Super Regional, and they had a 5-1 record at the College World Series. They felt like the best team in the country towards the end of the season, and they are crowned national champions. How can you not feel good for Mike Bianco if you're in this role? As look, I know that nobody's pulling for Ole Miss at LSU in anything. Maybe you were pulling because of the SEC ties yesterday in the Oklahoma versus Oklahoma. But, you know, either way, it's going to be tough to convince an LSU fan to pull for Ole Miss in anything. But I think that we all can agree, watching Mike Bianco be able to capture that moment and trophy yesterday after all his time in Oxford and his days that he spent in Baton Rouge, you really felt good for him, man. That camera shot of him being embraced by his assistant coaches and the interview after the game, the post-game interview where, you know, he takes his sunglasses off after he's he's doused with the water, and he says, he wanted to keep his sunglasses on because he didn't want you to see him crying. Just, I think really kind of shows you the moment. I know this. I sent Mike Bianco a text message last night before I went to sleep thinking that I would never hear back from him. And when I woke up this morning, the first text message I saw when I woke up was, "Thank you, Jordy," from Mike Bianco.
Oh, wow, really?
So I'd imagine that he probably had 500 of those come through over the last 24 hours. So I could see him sitting up in his hotel room on the night that he won the national championship game and answering all of the text messages, emails, phone calls that came through to him yesterday. I mean, really and truly, one of the true good dudes, good people in sports, right? I mean, I think we all got to know him when he was a catcher and assistant coach in Baton Rouge and have followed his career at Ole Miss. And I can't wait to talk to Ben McDonald about their time together and about, just their relationship and what that moment for McDonald, probably his best friend, one of his best friends in baseball, what it means to the sport. So, look, I know that, from Katie's point of view and even from LSU's fan base's point of view, nobody feels good for Ole Miss winning a national championship. But I do feel good for Mike Bianco being able to pull that off and now having that on the resume. And really, the FU that he is able to ride back with and I know that's not his personality. That's not who he is. He would never have that type of, that type of just position to him. I don't think that you would ever sense that. But if he ever needed to play that card, he always could now in Oxford forever. The guy that you wanted to run out of town probably 6 weeks ago, is now a national championship winning coach after all of these years at Ole Miss. I'm sure through the 22 years there's been some really low times and there's been a lot of high times, but there's been a loud section of Ole Miss's fan base that has called for Bianco's head at every turn. And now to see him have that moment like he did yesterday, I just thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was awesome. And I really feel good for him, man. And even like Drew Bianco, some of the things that popped up on social media with the things that I'm sure he has to hear and deal with of what people say about his old man and about his dad. He knows it comes with the trade. He knows it comes with the sport. But to have that moment yesterday was pretty cool. And then to hear some of the things, Todd Walker had a really good interview with Mike Bianco. I don't know if anybody saw it on the SEC network yesterday, but it was fantastic to hear Walker. Obviously, Bianco was the assistant coach while Walker was here at LSU. I mean, they were calling each other by their nicknames when they were going back and forth on the broadcast. But Walker asked him about a conversation that he had with Skip Bertman, leading up to this. And I thought about Skip. Right, I mean, in his living room, watching that moment of one of his players, one of his former players, and one of his assistant coaches having that moment in winning the national championship, and they did a lot of what LSU did to get there. I don't know if you saw this, but Bianco had and this was something that Skip told him when he called him earlier this week. He said, how would you go about this? And he said, keep it as simple as possible. Keep it as routine as you can, he said, but one way to kind of break it, and really kind of, not make the moment as big as it is bring people in, bring their families in the night before the game. And I think the series started on Saturday. On Friday night, Bianco brought in like friends and family to the team dinner and had them stand up, like the friends and family, and talk about what the season and what, that particular player or the program means to them, which, kind of gives the players of, it's more than us. This is a huge moment for Ole Miss, and how much it means to not just the players and the coaches, but everybody that's, supported this thing the entire time. And it was kind of an ode to LSU and something that Skip Bertman did during his days in Omaha to kind of, pop the balloon, kind of let everybody know, like, hey, look, just take a deep breath.
We're here.
Everybody's with you. Everybody's supporting you. You got you got your friends and family behind your back, and
it's like a wedding.
It was good to hear
like a rehearsal dinner.
It is like that.
It was good to hear Bianco kind of kind of, just telling that story of taking his time away, obviously, with Skip and, with those moments.
I mean, you would be a fool not to listen to him, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you have one of probably the best, ear you could kind of pull. This sounds great.
Jeez.
Good Lord, dude.
Sound like Jordy.
Out of here.
Yeah.
It's just a
But
word.
you have one of the best, True Blue. You have one of the best shoulders you can lean on with Skip Bertman. So you'd almost be a fool not to whatever he tells you. You should 100% listen to. All right, I remember what I did as a player whenever I played under you, but what were you thinking as a manager? Finally, my time has come to kind of get that advice from him. And Skip has always been an open book for people that ask. Mm-hmm. He'll tell you there's no secrets. He wants people to succeed, especially if they're from that LSU tree. And I feel like Mike Bianco just kind of pulled all the right strings that he learned from Skip. And what better way to do it? A catcher that, caught under Skip Bertman. He was the battery mate that he probably was very in tune with Skip calling pitches. And you could see him in the dugout calling pitches. It was very reminiscent of a Skip Bertman-esque run.
It was.
So it put a great bow on there. And he talked about Bianco, his son, being out there. He got on the field, and buddy, he looked like he was ready to turn loose. He had the bucket hat on. It was game time already. He'd been boozing for about 18 innings.
Absolutely. Well, I'd imagine there was a big. Look, man. Omaha was flooded with red.
It was a home game.
It really
It was incredible. The atmosphere when that place got rocking. Our boy Ben Mintz, as we said, got a lot of TV time on ESPN, but made a lot of friends up in Omaha, and I don't know if you've seen yet, but Dave Portnoy tweeted out last night. Stewie, pull this up. Go to Mintz's Twitter account. They have created a piece of memorabilia over at Barstool
For Ben.
Really? It's they're calling it the Old Mintz National Championship, and they've got Mintz sitting on a throne from his Jazz Fest gear. I mean, it is a classic pick. We got to buy them. I mean, we need a couple of these T-shirts. For some of the crew. I mean, it is great. And it's also great to see Mintz's popularity, the way that it has really grown, and the way that Dave Portnoy, the president and CEO of Barstool Sports, has embraced Ben Mintz.
He really has.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's countless amounts of employees at Barstool. I wouldn't even know what to guess. I'd guess say like 200.
Yeah,
at least. I mean, and
he singles Ben out a lot
all the time, and never singles him out but to support him and kind of from a boss's standpoint, the way that he messes with him, you can tell that he's he loves him. The way that he even when he's messing with him, he's supporting him.
Yeah.
It's coming from a good place every time.
Really
he's
truly.
look at this.
Look at Mintz's life.
Yeah. What does he say? He's like, when I die, I want to come back as Ben Mintz, and he's the president of the company. He's like, I'd rather be Ben.
Well, he was at Red Rocks in between the games. I mean,
don't
watching
know.
Widespread. It's his dream
his
weekend.
text messages from Friday, from the time that Ole Miss got into the national championship, the Thursday that they got in, where they beat Arkansas, and then on Friday, in between the Natty, he catches a flight to Red Rocks, goes and watches Widespread Panic to fly back to Nebraska on Saturday for Game 1 of the College World Series. The text message chain that he sent to me, it's a novel. Yeah. I mean, he's sending me videos of songs at Panic and talking, flipping around. It's a spiritual experience, buddy.
I bet so.
It's a spiritual experience.
And how many?
He's
times
I'm sorry for talking over the lyrics. Flipping right around, and you can hear him in the background singing it. When he flips it around, he's got the cross-eyed Mintz look. You know what I mean? It's just. And he is walking on clouds, dude.
Yeah.
He is walking on clouds, man. I feel so great for him and everybody that had a chance to experience that, and especially Mike Bianco. Remember to hit that like button, share button, comment button, and daily. We are brought to you by GoFlow IV, GEAUX Flow IV.com, GEAUX Flow IV.com. If you had a long weekend, if you got a big week ahead, if you're getting ready for July 4th festivities, get over to GoFlow, get you some energy for the week, get you a little starter over there at GoFlow, GEAUX Flow IV.com on Jefferson Highway. Remember, they'll take 15% off if you mention the show. Mention the Jordy Culotta Show. They'll save you 15% over at GoFlow, GEAUX Flow IV.com. So a huge weekend, right, for Ole Miss baseball. They cap off the run, the national championship. What a run. 18 in the last 22 games. They were the last four of the last four in. They were the fourth of the last four in to the tournament, and they win the national championship. What a story. Great
Baseball's
weekend. It is. It is absolutely weird.
Sport.
Ben McDonald told us on this the last time he was here, expect Tennessee to run through this thing unscathed. If you remember, this was going into the regional weekend. He said, guys, Tennessee's so good that I expect them to have an undefeated postseason run, win the national championship in a 2-game sweep. They don't even make it to Omaha. We'll talk to Ben about it coming up here at 8:15 this morning. Another huge weekend in the sport was LSU. And look, you can back this thing up to Friday. We were talking about it as a crew. The entire weekend for LSU sports was one that in the summertime you rarely get, right? Like in the middle of June, you rarely get a weekend where you can celebrate intercollegiate athletics like you were able to this weekend in Baton Rouge. It started off with the number one player in the country from a women's basketball standpoint, Michaela Williams, pledging to Kim Mulkey. Huge news. I mean, like, that is enormous news for what Mulkey is building, obviously, down here in Baton Rouge. But more importantly, it gives you an idea of the momentum that Mulkey, her staff, and the program really have. Williams, 2 years ago, didn't even have LSU in a top 10. Wasn't even planning on visiting the campus. Now, I know that, you bring a Hall of Famer in and everybody starts paying attention. But the ground that Mulkey was able to make up in such a short amount of time was such an elite player, right? I mean, like, she is battling the blue bloods of the sport. Dawn Staley, Gino Auriemma, I mean, all of the elite coaches within women's college basketball have had a 3-year head start, 2-year head start on recruiting Williams. Now, look, Mulkey was in touch with her while she was at Baylor, and I'm sure that Baylor was somebody that Williams was paying attention to, but once she got to LSU, she really had to reestablish a program, bring credibility to a place. And obviously, we all saw it instantly overnight. LSU women's basketball becomes a national player under Kim Mulkey in year one. You start to see the recruiting classes that she puts together. The first one is a renowned, nationally celebrated recruiting class. And then on the heels of that class, just touching down on campus. We talked to her on Friday, minutes after Williams pledged and committed to LSU, about what what was going on with the current group, and they were all on campus working out and getting ready for another season. On the heels of that class just getting on campus, Michaela Williams pledges to LSU out of Parkway in Shreveport, which just intensifies the momentum behind Mulkey. And what about the MJ quality that Mulkey has? I mean, I think you're starting to see that and hear that. Even Jacques stopped by with us on Saturday, and shout out to the Players Lounge for having us out on Saturday over at Walco. It's a great event. The entire LSU football team came through there, with the exception of a couple of guys, including Keyshawn Butte, who looked fantastic down in Thibodaux over the weekend. We'll talk to Glen West coming up here in a couple of minutes about Keyshawn, quarterbacks, and the crew. But even Jacques was commenting on Mulkey, really calling out her doubters, calling out people that I talked to her a couple of times this weekend, and she was like, at some point y'all going to stop betting against Mulkey. And we're like, I'm like, what are you talking about? In the same conversation, a couple of minutes later, she's like, I'm telling y'all going to quit doubting Mulkey at some point. I'm like, Coach, I don't know who you're listening to. I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody is doubting you. You know what I mean? Before we hung up the phone, she was like, y'all just keep them singing in the media. Just let them keep doubting me. I'm like, all right, have a good day, man. I mean, geez.
And I took that personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're the best at what you do. She's got this momentum and spotlight on LSU women's basketball that, I mean, it hasn't been hadn't been shined like this in a long time, man. I mean, it feels like you're kind of breaking away the cobwebs of how long it's been since LSU women's basketball has been in a spot like this. So that was just the start to the weekend, right? Where the number one player in women's college basketball, or number one prospect in that sport, pledges to LSU. And then in about just rapid fire news from LSU baseball, Jay Johnson pulls off 2 heists in the transfer portal. I mean, I don't even know anybody realized that Tommy Tanks from NC State, a freshman last season who hit 27 bombs as a true freshman for NC State. Still has 2 years of eligibility remaining. Like, he's got to play. It's like Dylan Cruz. Once he showed up, he had to stay for 3 years. Tanks has got to stay on whatever campus he chooses to play on for 3 years after he graduates. He just put one in the can from NC State and like set crazy record. 27 home runs as a true freshman. Guy's electric, big personality. Chooses LSU on Friday. 10 minutes later, the top pitcher in the portal, righty Christian Little out of Vanderbilt, a 6'4" right-handed pitcher out of Vanderbilt, sends out the tweet, "Go Tigers," with the tiger and the purple heart emoji. In a 10-minute span, Jay Johnson goes into the transfer portal and takes the 2 top prospects out of the portal and then closes off the weekend. I mean, as if that's not good enough, right? Like, I mean, like he's replacing star power with star power. He's replacing efficiency and power in the lineup with efficiency and power in the lineup. He needed some more names and arms that he could trust in the pitching staff. He goes and gets the top guy in Christian Little out of the transfer portal. And then last night, probably the biggest news out of all of it is that he's got Wes Johnson coming back to college baseball. Who's Wes Johnson? I asked the same thing. Once you start digging in and seeing who Wes Johnson is, this dude is the pitching coach for the first place Minnesota Twins right now. He's a pitching coach on the staff for the Twins who currently sit in first place in their division in Major League Baseball. LSU just went and sniped Johnson in the middle of the season. I mean, like, there are Major League Baseball bloggers, people that cover the sport, people that cover the Twins that are like, oh my God, how did this happen?
How long has he been there? 'Cause he was college
2 years.
Okay. So why
2
do you
years?
come back?
I think that I'd imagine that the LSU job would make a lot of people pay attention because his background is college baseball. He spent a season at Mississippi State before, and then some time in Arkansas. He's been in Minnesota since November of 2018, so longer than 2 years.
4 years.
Right? 4 years.
Yeah.
And now is coming back to college baseball in the middle of the season to join Jay Johnson's staff as the pitching coach. I mean, look, I don't know a lot about Wes Johnson. I don't know a lot about his resume. I know that he's very well respected in the stuff that I've read and the things that he's done in baseball and in pitching and recruiting. But to leave a sitting major league job as the pitching coach for an organization, there's only 30 of those gigs in the world. I mean, it's not like there's multiple positions like this on people's staff. I mean, if you're the pitching coach, there's only one of those on every team. And for you to be an active Major League Baseball pitching coach and go back to college in the middle of the year, first off, the offer must have been really aggressive. But second of all, I mean, like, it shows you what Jay Johnson, like, what he believes LSU can be. First off, to even have that conversation shows you, like, the thought that Johnson has about what the job is. Like, nobody's off limits. Nobody. Who could you find with a better resume than Johnson, a guy that spent time at 2 of the power players in the conference? Mississippi State, last season's national champ. Arkansas, this season's semifinalist. That's the 2 SEC schools on Johnson's resume, and he's the active pitching coach for the Minnesota Twins right now.
Will we know any details about the offer?
Yes,
Sure.
I have him right here.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, he was making, reportedly, received an annual salary around $350,000 from the Twins. Go ahead and double that, LSU said. Make it $700,000. Come on down to Baton Rouge.
Had to.
Wow.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, bro. Like,
Oh
I mean,
my
like, you're not paying attention unless it's for real. How about
Yeah.
doubling your salary? Is
Yeah.
that for real?
$750,000.
You know
Come
what?
on down.
We'll take the meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he gets to coach the rest of this week. They said, "Yeah, finish up your little road trip. That's cool."
Well, it's great
come
for
on,
LSU.
Yeah, come on down when you're ready.
Well, it's great for LSU in recruiting, right? I mean, it's just like you're talking to Christian, and I'm sure that he had that news when he was talking to Little on Friday.
Oh, absolutely, in your back pocket. I mean?
Like, what are you going to do about Jason Kelly? I'm going to hire Wes Johnson. Who's Wes Johnson? He's the Minnesota Twins pitching coach. Like, oh,
they're leading their division right now.
Wow, you know what I mean? Like, so it shows you the power of LSU's baseball program, whether it's the name or it's the budget. Whatever you want to debate, who cares? They're able to pull him, right? Like LSU baseball makes you pay attention. Doubling the salary makes you sign the contract. So, I mean, for Johnson, the weekend that Johnson had, put it on the poll. Stewie puts it on the poll, brought to you by Southern Eye Center on Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge. Remember, go check out our friend Dr. Ann Shaw and her friends over at Southern Eye Center. Great selection of sunglasses, July 4th weekend. If you're traveling and you need some new shades, go over to Southern Eye Center on Jefferson Highway. Tell them you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. They'll take 25% off name brand selection sunglasses over at Southern Eye Center. Who had a bigger weekend, LSU or Ole Miss?
I put it on the poll already. We're getting swamped.
I voted LSU.
That's all right. Ole Miss had a good weekend. Get a little natty. Bianco, big weekend. LSU LSU cleaned up for what LSU baseball, where they were and where they're going to be in the future. That's why I kind of made the comparison, because this seems like an absolute title run. Seems like Jay Johnson has a terrible taste in his mouth from what happened at the regional. He's like, I'm not letting this happen again. What do I need? I get to clean house, and by cleaning house, I mean people get to leave for better jobs than they had at LSU, but now he gets to totally make this thing his own and probably bring in people that he thinks will be able to stick around long term. And now he brings in people from the portal. He gets to clean the roster up a little bit and make it his. Like, this is what you get to see in one full year of having Jay Johnson, and it has pretty much been what lived up to the billing of Jay Johnson being the master recruiter, pitchman, whatever you want to call him. That was his calling card coming in, and it seems to be that in spades.
Okay, so an enormous weekend for LSU baseball. We'll get to it, but also a big weekend for LSU football and recruiting as well. We'll talk about that with Glen West. If you were paying attention to what was going on down in Thibodaux at the Manning Passing Academy, all of LSU's quarterbacks were down there, including Keyshawn Butte, the star wide receiver. First time they got video out of Keyshawn running routes, catching footballs, and he looks fantastic for the middle of June. We'll talk about that and more with Glen West, Big G, coming up here from Go247. Stick around. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button, as we'll be back more with the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Pushing 611.
True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. All right, personal testimony from my trip over to Johnson and Spillers. Shout out to my friend Dr. Chad Spillers for taking care of me, man. I had to have my front tooth, a tooth implanted on my front tooth, and it was a hell of an ordeal, but Dr. Spillers and the crew from Johnson and Spillers made it as easy and seamless as possible to work with and have taken the final product, and it is absolutely beautiful. Learn more online at johnsonspillers.com. Whether you're looking for Botox or you need help in any type of dentistry, whether it is dentures, night guards, if you're looking for Invisalign. If you're interested in implant dentistry like I got, you can get in touch with Johnson and Spillers. Online, johnsonspillers.com. 2 locations, one in Gonzales, one in Baton Rouge. Easiest way to get them, online at johnsonspillers.com. Do you have questions about your finances? Are you looking for recommendations from a skilled financial advisor? Get in touch with our friend Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones. You can find him easily by logging online and shooting him an email at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. That is daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Whether it is help with your 401k or just fiscal advice heading into the new season, get in touch with Daniel today. Best way to do it? Email him, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. He's our experienced financial advisor. Let him be yours, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. All right, welcome back here to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember to check out our friends over at Johnson and Spillers. If you need any dental needs during these summer days, whether it's pediatric or general dentistry, stop in and see our friends over at Johnson and Spillers. Easy to find them online, johnsonspillers.com, and great social media. You can find them on Facebook. Location in Gonzales on Prepara Avenue, and then in Baton Rouge on Perkins Road, in between Segan Lane and Bluebonnet. Let's go down to New Orleans. Katie and I were in meetings last week in New Orleans. We stopped in to grab some lunch, and it was a hot, sunny day, and for whatever reason, the place went completely shaded as Glen West walked through the doorway and blocked the entire sun with his 6'10" frame as he walked into the galley, one of the great secrets of Old Metairie. It was good to see a good friend down there in Glen West. Glenn, good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, guys. I've been going to that restaurant since, well, before I could fit through the door without ducking. So,
that was my first time.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Definitely a good family spot that we go to quite often with my family.
Maybe the best boiled seafood in South Louisiana.
I think so. I do. I really can't pull away.
Glenn, let's go back to late last week. Arch Manning shut down the recruiting process. What did you make of him choosing Texas?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just another kind of dent in the legacy of the Manning family in terms of just guys wanting to build their own legacy. I mean, you saw it with Peyton going to Tennessee, wanting to do a little something different from what his family had done. And, I think so much of this is just about, the recruiting relationships. And obviously we heard really from Arch's sophomore season when he started really kind of diving into it that he had a really tight relationship with Sarkisian, who was then at, I think, Alabama, and now he's obviously at Texas. And just from that first Zoom call that they had, we heard a lot of really good things about just the relationship that they've had. And obviously since, they've met multiple times. Obviously Arch has been on campus multiple times in Austin, and it's a great family town. It's a great town to go to in terms of playing your college ball. And so it really seemed like it had kind of gotten down to Texas and Georgia in the last several months, and I think it was obviously a tough decision. We got to talk a little bit with the Mannings and on Friday about the decision, which was really interesting from Cooper and Eli's and Peyton's perspective. Obviously, Peyton talked about his recruitment and how he committed at a bar to Tennessee. He was at a local bar in New Orleans and committed to Tennessee. And
is it Fat Harry's? Fat Harry's?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think he said Fat Harry's. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was. And he just talked about how Arch did it the right way. Apparently, right before he committed, he called all of the coaches that he was not going to be committing to. First class. In terms of just saying, hey, thanks for recruiting me and all that good stuff. But I'm heading to Texas and just doing it the right way, which is what you'd expect out of a Manning.
At that same Manning Passing Academy, we got some first B-roll, and we'll talk more recruiting, but your thoughts on Kayshon Boutte, the first that we've seen of him moving around a little bit after reports a couple of weeks back that he was 100%.
Yeah, he looks fantastic. I mean, he was out there with Kyron Lacey. You saw a couple of the quarterbacks tossing him some throws, and very interesting. I mean, like, we'd heard really kind of all off season how, Kayshawn was rehabbing at first away from the team and kind of not as involved. And obviously I think those comments from Coach Kelly really kind of got the ball rolling on building out that relationship. And, I do think that, he looked like the star receiver that I think you're expecting to see from him, this fall, and was cutting great. It was only a 13 or 14 second video, but they spent, I think, several hours out there in Thibodaux, connecting with Miles, and Miles was out there with all the other quarterbacks. So look, I mean, you're going to need Kayshawn this year. If you're going to have a successful first year under Brian Kelly, you're going to need him to be that 9 touchdown guy through 6 games that you saw last year. And I think that obviously these next few weeks are going to be about building up that rapport with not only Brennan but with Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels, and trying to get that connection and the rhythm of their route timing down. So going to be an important next several weeks, even if it's not something that you see a lot of in terms of on social media or out on the practice field. Those guys are going to be hard at work for sure.
Big Glen West is on Twitter at GlenWest21. Make sure to follow him there. He's now over at 247 Sports covering. All right, a big one fell over the weekend in recruiting. A quarterback announced Jaden Rashada chose Miami. What does that mean for LSU's quarterback room and recruitment?
Yeah, so I think you're left with a couple options here. Obviously, Dante Moore, out of California, up north is a big option for him. I think that it really looks like right now Oregon is right there in the mix. But LSU's going to keep pushing. Moore was on campus at Oregon, I think this last week, and he was at LSU's campus back in April, and so there's going to be a lot of work to be done. I think the fact that he hasn't set a commitment date yet, could mean a lot of things. It could mean he's really waiting until the fall to make his decision, which is good for LSU. But at the same time, a lot of these kids just want to get it out of the way, so he could drop it at any time. So if he was going to be making a decision within the next week, I would probably say Oregon. Our guy Will Fong over at 24/7 has a crystal ball in on him for Oregon. So he's kind of the big blue chip guy that's still out there that LSU's pursuing. Another couple of guys, Ricky Collins, the local Woodlawn quarterback here, currently a Purdue commit. We got to see him in a 7-on-7 tournament here at LSU a couple weeks ago, and he looked really good. I do think LSU is going to kind of put the pressure up, dial up the pressure on him now that Rashad is out of the mix, and it'll be very interesting to see. They also just offered a guy, Brock Glen. We need another Glen here in the program, so that would be really cool. 2023 guy, and he's getting a lot of interest as well from some big schools. So they just offered him, so they're probably going to need a little while to recruit him. So don't have much intel on him, but those are just a few guys that are in the mix. But I kind of go back to if you don't land a big blue chip quarterback in this class, I think you're still in really good shape. You got Nussmeier here for another couple of years, obviously Walker Howard. So you're still able to, build for the future with next year's class and still feel good about what you have in the present.
LSU had 3 official visitors on the offensive line this weekend, including TJ Shanahan. How did it go? What were the 3 names, and what was the latest with Brad Davis's group?
Yeah, so Shanahan was on board. I think they recently welcomed Zalance Hurd, who was a big-time 100 player. He camped for them last week, so he's a guy that LSU is really pursuing, heavily. I do think that LSU is in a really good spot with a lot of these guys. I think you really have to build up that offensive line. They also had a guy, Paul Mbenga, who I can't. It's a tough name to get, but Chase Besantis as well as another name that was on there. Just a couple guys are kicking the tires on. And look, I think offensive line, you're going to have to go offensive line heavy with this group. I mean, you want to feel good about your future with that position group. And right now LSU's got a lot of transfers in there. They've got a lot of kind of guys that are getting into that junior senior range who have been here a few years now. So you want to make sure that you're backing up Will Campbell and Miles Frazier and a lot of those kind of new young guys with some really talented players. And I do think they're going to be putting full court press on a lot of these guys. And with only I don't think they even have an offensive line commit right now. They might have one, but they're also going after Tyree Adams, the local the local kid. And so there's a lot of guys that are pursuing on the offensive line. And, I think the big one, though, is going to be Zalance Hurd. They really like him, and I think they're hoping to get him in with a commitment. But, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be very interesting, though, to see just kind of how the O-line shakes out. But definitely they're going to go O-line heavy, I think, with this recruiting class.
One thing that we have seen is the defensive line group. Jamar Cain has had a national reach here over the last couple of weeks. What is the latest on that group that he has been heading towards, including Jackson Howard, who I know is out of Minnesota, that LSU is kind of waiting to see what his choice is going to be?
Yeah, so Jackson Howard's a big-time player. They had him on. They had him on campus this month, and from what I can tell, he's really interested. LSU's right in a really good position with him, with Jamar Cain. He's done a tremendous job. There's a guy, Duron Reed out of Georgia, who is also making a commitment here on the 4th. Those two guys are both announcing this week, so you're going to get a really good picture, I think, of just kind of what this 2023 defensive line class looks like, just in terms of guys who could or could not be coming this week. They're pursuing a number of different guys. I do know that that they feel really good about Howard, and he was on Miami's campus recently as well. But Jamar Cain has done a really nice job of just kind of settling things down as a new coach. I mean, this is what you kind of want out of your position coaches, is guys to settle down, build those relationships early, and often as often as you can. And so, I do think a lot of the kind of the focus has been on the secondary early in this class with the two safeties and the cornerback, but defensive line, you're going to have to start rebuilding eventually with Ali Gay, and obviously Ojulari is going to be draft eligible this year. So you got some good young talent on there, but you want to keep beefing it up. So I think that's going to be a huge key for LSU.
We saw star wideout Shelton Sampson come through Baton Rouge over the last couple of weeks. It seems like the intensity around his recruitment has picked up, especially here in his hometown. What is the latest on the 5-star wide receiver out of Catholic High?
Yeah, he's obviously taking visits. He's visiting campuses. I do think he's done a nice job of just being able to visit a bunch of places. I think LSU is obviously very high on him. They really want him. He's a blue chip guy who's obviously very highly regarded. Alabama obviously still very much in the mix there. But yeah, I mean, look, he's a local guy, and I think the thing of this class so far that you've seen is they've really done a nice job of going out of state. But I think they also have to be pretty careful of trying to get those blue chip in-state guys as well. And Sampson's right there at the top of the list in terms of guys that you'd expect LSU to want. And so I don't know that he was on a campus. I think he was on a campus at Alabama on the 17th. He was visiting Florida State early this month as well. Not exactly sure where he was this last week, but he's doing. He's making the rounds this summer, which is what a lot of guys are doing right now.
Another one out of Baton Rouge is Caleb Jackson, the running back out of Liberty, who seems like his recruitment is really picking up from LSU's standpoint. I know he was in College Station 2 weeks ago. What is the latest on where LSU stands with him?
Yeah, I mean, they're still pursuing him. Obviously, when you got Frank Wilson there in that room, that's going to be a good thing for you. Obviously, Texas A&M right there in the mix as well. But I think LSU feels good. Obviously, you got a guy in Trey Holly in this class already, who was a pretty early commit for LSU, which I think bodes well for the Tigers in terms of just getting that track record back with these elite local running backs. In terms of Jackson, I'm not entirely sure where he was. I think he was on Alabama's campus this last weekend and taking a visit. And so, he's very much like Sampson, just kind of making the rounds and, doing a lot of, the visits that you would expect at this time of year. But LSU certainly feels good about their running back spot. I think they've got some really great young talent already in the room, but obviously you want to continue to build for the future. And Holly was a great start, and obviously Jackson would be a tremendous addition for this class as well.
All right, Glenn, tell them where you are now, man. I know you just made a move here over the last couple of weeks. You're over at Go247. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you guys can follow us at Go247. We're kind of making that transition right now. I'm at Glen West 21 on Twitter, and It's been a hectic last week, and I heard you guys talking about baseball for a little bit, and that's certainly something right up my alley, and certainly something I love talking about. So it's been a very hectic weekend, but we're pushing through and doing a lot of great stuff over at Go247. So I really appreciate it.
Glenn, let's wrap up there. What were your thoughts on Jay Johnson's weekend? How big was the weekend for Johnson, what he's trying to accomplish?
Huge. I mean, it was just an absolutely tremendous weekend for this program, for the future of this program. Obviously, getting two guys in White and Little who are going to be foundational pieces for that program next season. In White's case, he's got 2 years of eligibility left as well, which is really good for LSU in terms of kind of getting a transfer in here who will stick around a little while, and obviously has the offensive pedigree that's really unmatched across the country, or unmatched by very few, I should say, across the country. So that power lineup of Cruz and Morgan and now Tommy Tanks is what they call him. So that'll be very interesting to come at Alex Box next year. But what I came away with was just super impressed with the pitching coach hire. I mean, to get a guy in Wes Johnson out of the MLB. I mean, we were talking about just some of the top college pitching coaches coming to LSU. And, I tweeted it out last night. Jay Johnson essentially just said, hold my beer. I'm going to go get one of the top major league guys. So, it's a really cool, really amazing addition to get one of the top guys from the MLB in here. He's obviously got some SEC experience with Arkansas and Mississippi State. Before he took the Twins job, he's been there for about 4 years. And so I think that just makes it all the more enticing for a freshman recruit, for a transfer portal prospect. You see an MLB pitching coach in college. It's gonna roll some eyes, I think, and it's gonna get some guys' attention. And so I think this is a tremendous weekend for the future of that program. And I think they're up.
Glenn, I know there's no way to know where Jay Johnson's going to go next as far as replacing Fitzgerald, but do you think that Noah Cain is a possibility?
I'm not sure. I think Nolan is very happy at A&M. Just talking with a guy who really knows Nolan well. I think he feels very comfortable in Texas A&M. Obviously, they just made a great run of their own in the postseason. Never say never. I think what you really want out of this hire is a guy who's good at recruiting and good on defense, and I think that's the kind of the mold that you're looking for in terms of Fitzgerald replacement. And there are a number of guys that have been thrown around, but nothing's really concrete yet, and we'll see what happens. But I do think Nolan would be a nice option to bring back if that's the direction Jay wants to go. And we'll certainly see, kind of in the next, I would assume next week or two, just in terms of wanting to fill out the staff, what he wants to do. He can only really fill one more full-time position. So that's obviously going to be the Fitzgerald job. So be interesting to see. We'll be in touch, though. We'll be keeping in tune.
At Glen West 21 on Twitter. Over at Go247 now, Big Glen West. Go follow him there and read all of his work. We'll be touching base soon again. Thank you, man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Remember, daily, we are brought to you by Dead Soxy. There is a promo code over there that Katie can tell you about, deadsoxy.com. But you can always take, is it 35% off?
It's 35% off.
Damn.
Of all regular price socks. It's amazing. And the socks are so good, y'all. Get your LSU socks before football season gets here.
And the ankle socks, especially for the summer heat.
Ankle socks. The no-show, I guess you call them, right?
No-show?
I don't think they really sell ankle socks anymore, right?
Showing my age.
The old school ankle socks?
Yeah. Remember I took that photo in the Stadium Club last year of all the dad shoes and all the ankle socks and sent it to y'all?
Because there is a fine line between the no-show and the ankle.
There is.
Well, the no-show, I remember when it showed up on the scene, it was like, oh my God, you can go lower than ankle socks?
Wow.
Because you used to have to, back in the day, crew sock, fold it down if you really wanted to have like an ankle sock. Your mom wouldn't buy that many pairs. So you'd have to kind of finagle your way into an ankle sock. Then they come out with like the toe condom, essentially, that you just slip on. There's more than a no-show. Yeah. God,
there
Bernard was not happy about those.
No.
Are you wearing socks? Indeed I am.
Absolutely.
And then
Wait, are you wearing ankle? You're wearing ankle socks.
Yeah, these are normal ankle socks.
They're not
wow, what a
But
dad.
this one is not.
Wait, what?
Okay.
I was about to say, where's the other one?
Exactly. You got to keep them guessing.
Stop. You're wearing mismatched socks. That
Every day.
makes me panic. That makes me
that just means it's time for me to go to dead soccer.
I can't even wear like the Nike socks have like an R and an L, and like if I put it on and
That
it's
is different
I'll have
level
to take it
obsessive.
off and reverse it.
Yeah, that's OCD.
You do too. See, Stewie does too.
Stewie whispering into the microphone
Why are
after
you
an
plugged in?
embarrassing. No mic. No mic. Okay.
Oh, he did want to talk about his softball
Okay, yeah, I was
performance
about to
over
say
the
his
weekend.
softball performance.
No, he's giving it. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, right.
Is that why?
He was tweeting out. We saw videos from Friday and Saturday. We did not see a championship game. Anything come out from the championship game? Stewie saw the bats go silent there, as we got no audio from. Okay, Lloyd's gonna make it happen
He's
here.
gonna plug him in so we
Lloyd's
can hear
gonna
all
make it
about
happen here.
Poor Stewie, you've just been over there
we
silent.
were getting a couple of reports from boots on the ground, as it sounded like Stewie was talking a lot of trash early on.
He was.
Ass was looking good and high in those shorts on
Got
Friday.
beat by
We're
a couple
getting
of cigarette
reports.
smokers.
Yeah, bunch of
Couple of soft pack guys.
right, soft pack guys. Dudes, they were
So
talking.
Stewie, you went home for the alumni
Right.
softball tournament weekend in Franklin,
Yes, at Hanson, at my high school.
and this is the home of Hanny, right?
Yes.
Charles Hannegriff.
Home of Charles Hannegriff.
Was he there?
Hanny's
was not there.
Hanny's
Did he
not the
Dropping
alumni
nukes?
baseball.
Yeah, I was about to say. I don't think
alumni.
Hanny wants to come
Maybe
out,
he's back calling it on the
Right.
radio, right?
but played against a bunch of dudes that play softball every weekend.
Oh, the baseball
But-
pant crew.
Yeah, but
Yeesh.
the shit talking started kind of early.
Sure.
The dugout door was open. They threw a ball in the dugout, and we got an extra base, and they were mad about that.
That's
So-
just the rules.
right. So
There
we were
booze
like,
at this thing?
yes.
Oh yeah.
Everybody
It
was
was soft
boozing.
pack
Like while you're
cigarettes. It
playing?
better
Soft
be.
pack cigarettes and booze.
Yeah.
While you're playing, you
Yes.
can do it while you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this dude was burning heaters on first base.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
Was he hitting
literally.
tanks?
Serious?
No, he wasn't that good.
Okay.
He was a
Just
player.
addicted to cigarettes.
Either way, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna be either way. He's gonna
Either
be,
way.
he's gonna be terrible, or he's gonna be a beast.
At first,
Was he like running the bases with a stick hanging out?
no,
his
no,
mouth?
no. He was just playing first base with the cig
Yeah.
in his mouth.
That's amazing.
You know they needed one more, and he's like, "Can I smoke cigarettes on the field?" Like, well, yeah, I'll play first
Absolutely.
and smoke
Absolutely.
cigs. Like, yeah, just stand there, dude.
But we
Can you catch?
We swept the
Sometimes.
whole weekend. We swept. We won 2 games Friday. Won the first 2 games we played Saturday.
Ooh, feeling
Got to
bold.
the championship feeling good. 1 seed feeling great. Get to the championship game. We're playing a team we already beat 3 times.
No, 4th time's the
And so
hardest.
we're like, all right, we got to beat these dudes again so we can go home, get this T-shirt. They beat us last year.
T-shirt.
They beat us last year in the championship, so we're feeling like, all right, we got to get our
We ain't quite done yet.
right
Wow, back to back.
back to back.
Damn, Stewie.
And took
Took
the lead.
2 of 'em.
Took the lead in both games. They had to beat us twice to win the championship because we were undefeated. They had already
Oh
lost the
my
game.
god! Do y'all like practice together? and
No,
stuff?
we don't.
Really?
We
No,
don't. My
thank
team
God.
doesn't.
Okay.
But their team does.
Wow,
Obviously.
I mean,
But-
that's saying something.
yeah.
Good for y'all.
Come out the first day,
Yeah,
4 for
could've won the
5,
big
4
one, though.
tanks.
Mm.
Come out Saturday, hitting tanks still.
What happened
Get to
in
the
the championship game?
I hit 1 tank the first game, and then power died.
Oh
Power
no.
died.
Is this
Stewie
like
Tanks
over the
died.
fence home runs, or these
Over the
like
fence?
in
Oh
the
yeah,
park?
these
Like
are-
you
these
gotta.
are- I was hitting them things in a row, coach.
So y'all are like
Really?
playing at the high school baseball field?
It's
No,
it's on
softball.
it's
Softball
on a-
field?
yeah, we played on the Little League field. So we
Okay.
went to the Little League fields in Franklin and played there because
Stewie.
the priest was feeling weird about things going on Sundays on campus.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah,
Tournament
that's-
didn't even last until
That's
Sunday.
his time on campus.
right.
You don't want
Worry
to.
about something else,
That's,
huh?
well, no, you don't have. You don't want that many people on campus going on a Sunday,
Yeah,
blowing up
Too
the
many people
spot.
snooping
Yeah.
around here.
Right, exactly.
Don't go in there. No.
hold on.
Don't open that door.
Oh my god.
Wait, do bring your kids though.
And
kids in the
here's the
grotto.
collection plate. Make sure that
Pass that thing
yeah,
around.
right. We do take checks. We've got Venmo.
Whole thing
for
was a
every-
fundraiser.
I bet.
Yeah.
$1 per home run.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had to pay?
Yeah, man.
If
like,
you hit a home run, you had to pay?
yeah.
Did you pay?
What kind of racket
I mean,
is
we
that?
just like
Wow.
after a game, like one person from the team would like just give them 10. Because like one game we hit 12, one game we hit like 13.
Sunday, you didn't have to pass the plate at all.
Right. Sunday we actually hit 12 Sunday.
What
but
happened?
it was just
What was
at the
final
beginning
score?
of the day.
They paid us on Sunday.
Yeah.
19 to 13.
Oh, y'all
last
crush.
game.
What
Yeah.
was
Damn.
the fundraising for?
It was for the softball and baseball teams.
Okay.
Oh, okay. At the school, at your high school. Did you play baseball in high school?
Yeah, I played my freshman and sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah, me and the baseball coach didn't really see that.
No points for second place, Stewie.
I know,
sorry.
right? Tough.
You going back next year?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, at some point, you got to beat this.
This is the Buffalo
we've
Bills.
already talked about it. We are going back. We are back. We're getting that back in blood.
Y'all are a player or two short. Maybe a Jared Mitchell pickup.
Yeah, I was gonna tell him like
Maybe a Matuk, maybe a little Matuk off-season pickup.
Right. Yeah.
Put Jordy on the bump.
Yeah, freshly out of baseball.
Coach, we might need you.
That would
Get a
be
little.
crazy.
Just
All you
call,
gotta do
bro.
is get that nice
Yeah, I'll
spin
bring
in
him
there.
out. I'll bring him out.
Y'all don't want me. You didn't.
Katie, I mean,
Is it co-ed?
Katie, yeah, it's co-ed. Katie,
Is
if
it
you want to
really?
play, I mean,
We should take over Franklin. We should
because
go.
we definitely need some more girls that.
Yeah, I've never played.
What's
Give us
what's the ratio got to be?
You only need 3 girls or
3
4.
girls to,
Only 3.
and there's 9 in the field.
Yeah.
Okay, we could
Yeah.
probably clean up.
Catcher, right field.
What's the entry fee?
I could probably do catcher.
250
$250.
Yeah.
That's not a person or a team.
team.
Oh yeah, we can do.
Coach.
Yeah,
Do that.
FM softball.
come join the.
There we go.
Hey, I got that UREC shirt somewhere. That championship
doubt.
UREC for softball
Will
somewhere.
Jay Mitch lead off.
Cool.
Matuk batting third.
I bet it last. They put me at the bottom of the line.
That's because you were
Okay, a little
late.
sneaky.
I was late.
Yeah, that's veteran move.
Look, I pulled up when we were hitting.
Oof.
So they
Walk
were like,
straight to the box.
They were like, Stu, you're batting last. And I was like, cool. Go up there.
First AB.
First AB hit a pop up. I was like, damn,
got
Is
Not
it
on it.
underhanded pitching?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's slow,
Slow
pitch.
pitch.
So I
Yeah.
could do that. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, serve
It's
him up.
fairly
I don't know
easy,
if I
yeah.
could hit a ball. I'd have to try
But
that.
some people have
sounds
their
like
little.
content.
Yeah.
It does.
The team we played in the championship, they had they switched pitchers for the championship.
Wow.
Because the pitcher they had the
Okay.
first couple of games, we would
Gamesmanship.
Yeah, they're
killing
gonna
them.
take it this serious,
Do
bro.
they
Right.
come out like on the field in the middle and switch pitchers? Is it
No,
that serious?
no, they just switched
That'd be awesome if
they
they
just
did.
Start the
switched
game.
The coach
to
comes
start
out.
the game. But the
Walk
first,
out from the dugout.
Yes.
the first pitcher they had, he was throwing BP. Honestly,
Yeah.
we were hitting tanks like back to back to back to back to back.
Damn.
Because you could
Ole
stack,
Miss.
you could stack the boys at the end.
Yeah.
Like you just have to go boy girl at the beginning,
Oh.
and then at the end of your lineup, you could just have like 4 guys. And
Okay.
that's what we did. And
So
I
you
was-
might want to stagger so you can
Bottom.
get some people
Yeah.
on base, so that you don't go
Well,
solo.
if,
But the co-ed leagues, the difference is the ladies. I mean, if
Yep.
you got a couple of ringers
Mhm.
that
Former
can hit,
softball
oh,
players.
man,
That was the difference for
Absolutely.
them. They had a girl that was like our shortstop, like our softball team shortstop in high school,
Wow.
and she was
Wow,
their
Stewie,
shortstop.
you need to up the
She
recruiting
was
budget for our
snagging
team.
at like I'm talking about gloving them, coach. Like we're hitting balls hard as hell at her. She's
Picking
picking
them.
them. I'm like, coach, we got to get some.
They got
Difference maker.
a they got a player.
Difference maker. I mean,
Yeah.
if you got back-to-back years where you're losing to the same team, we got to make some moves.
Yeah, we do.
They got to trim the fat, pick up somebody's best player. We need to start recruiting.
Yeah, maybe you put Jordy in charge of the roster. That's what he does well. It's a hard conversation, but not for Jordy. You don't bring any value to the team.
You got a phone number for him? I can call him.
Yeah.
Hey,
Look, you're out this
one
season.
One of my friends, Chase, if you're listening, Chase, fuck you.
Stewie, pay up. Pay the
801,
fine,
Okay.
dude.
good.
He was in Orange Beach.
Little discounted fine.
He was in Orange Beach for the weekend, and he was
no
like,
commitment.
He was like having FOMO from
yeah.
not being at the alumni tournament.
He's cut,
And
though.
We get to the championship, and we were like, "Yeah, Chase, we didn't need you this year."
Oh,
and he was
no.
pissed. He's hurt. Dude almost died in Orange Beach. Like he was swimming by a shark. So and like this is after he almost died. And we're telling him like we don't need you next year. Like we're giving your spot to somebody else, which his spot might be up for grabs. I don't know.
Absolutely it
Not
is.
the manager.
Yeah.
I just play.
Wow.
I just play. I just hear so we'll get
Just
fined.
here so I won't
Well,
get
that was
fined.
our first curse word, so you got to pay up.
Tough.
Drop in the bucket.
Y'all, we've gone an hour with no curse words.
What is
No, I know he just broke it, but like
What is
we've
this
gone
rule?
a whole hour. That was crazy.
It's a new rule, Lloyd.
if you were-
Discounted in the second hour.
Swear jar.
It
yes.
is 8:02, so I guess you get the discount.
Lloyd, you were out
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah, obviously. What kind
yes.
of bullshit is this?
You were
Yeah.
out last
Swear jar?
week.
Yeah, isn't it down there?
And somehow I walked into a lunch meeting that I thought I was only going to meet one suit. Ended up with 3 suits. And me at the table rocking hat, T-shirt, and J's.
Freshly
They were telling
perfumed.
me about, just a little bit about the feeling on the content, which they were very high on. But they were like, your boy, the long-headed guy with the big forehead. What's his name?
Stewie?
Lloyd.
Oh.
And I was like, he pushes the envelope on the cussing thing a lot, doesn't he? It's like, okay. I said, we usually try to abide by a first hour, kind of,
Yeah, for the kids.
keep it clean for the kids. But the second hour, we like to turn it in, not Eddie Murphy raw, but, maybe,
a little loose.
yeah, keep it a little looser.
The BET uncut.
So we came up with a fine jar here for cussing in the first hour is a hell of a charge. The scale is
Sliding scale?
From the F word to your standard cuss words.
Yeah.
Did we agree on this?
I think we said $10.
$10?
Right? And $1 for
$10 for an
the
F
other
word in the first hour.
But like
$10
P
for an
word
F word in
and
the
C
first
word
hour.
Are like 20.
Oh, we never even said the C
Just start
word.
going.
Jordy
yeah,
said
C
the
word.
P word like 10
C word.
times.
I'm just gonna start
last
saying
week.
F-U and the A.
Yeah.
F-U-C.
There you go.
F
See?
them.
Now, yeah, F them.
Okay.
So
That'll
Chase,
save you
F
money.
'em.
That'll save you
F
money.
What
But
about
Lloyd,
the
you might
bird?
be in trouble. I think you're okay on the
Good on
bird.
the bird?
You're okay on the
I
bird.
don't like the bird.
It's a visual platform, but
Yeah.
you know,
So
fly
digital
it, bro.
medium. Yeah,
Fly it.
let it fly.
Yeah, right. Fly it.
A lot of birds
Let her
flying
fly.
around here.
We're going to talk to
All
Ben
right.
McDonald
We'll
coming
see
up
how.
here.
Yeah, we'll forget about this
in a
for
couple
jar,
of
no
minutes.
doubt. If
We
we
will
just
not.
move it out the corner, we'll forget about
The
it.
bunker knows about it. No, they're not going to forget.
Oh, they don't want it. There's no way.
They'll be all right.
Hayden Paris, I knew WAFB would neuter you.
That's what I'm worried about. Suits.
They love the content, though. But they were curious about the guy with the big forehead.
Peyton Manning over
The
there.
Manning cam. Omaha.
Billy Napier's in trouble. Billy
Who's
Napier's he's in a spot. The NIL stuff over at Florida seems like it's crazy. This latest story with Jaden Rashada is wild. If you've seen this, it looks like Miami is going to sign Rashada to a $9.5 million NIL deal. He accepts the $9.5 million, and then it came out yesterday by an attorney, an NIL lawyer named Michael Caspino, who is known as an NIL lawyer, who said that Jaden left millions on the table. Millions. He did not pick the highest offer. He went to Miami because he loves it there, the coaches and the opportunity. He went on to say, the University of Florida, and I am quoting Caspino here, saying, Florida is the most dysfunctional collective in all of college football. I plan on steering my clients away from them. From my standpoint, I never, ever want to deal with them again. If it weren't for the collective that's completely dysfunctional at Florida, he probably would have been there. The collective responded with a statement saying it never communicated with the lawyer. In fact, the Gator Collective has a Twitter account, @GatorCollective, who put out a statement last night at 9 o'clock p.m. stating, the recent comments by California lawyer Michael Caspino have been brought to our attention. Gator Collective has never had any communication with Mr. Caspino about Jaden Rashada or any other recruits. Rather, Gator Collective has refused to engage in any dialogue with Mr. Caspino on numerous occasions, as Gator Collective does not approve of his tactics and has no interest in engaging in activities which violate Florida law and NCAA interim policy and may put athletes' eligibility at risk. This is just some of the things that we're talking about with NIL that are going to get really greasy really quick. And now you've got agents and lawyers who are acting and representing high school athletes that are coming out and saying, because of negotiating tactics, that they're going to steer clients or steer players away from schools and publicly really just kind of, chastising the way that Florida handled their business here. But it is amazing to see some of the numbers being thrown around here. I mean, Jaden Rashada, this is Arch Manning we were talking about last week. Jaden Rashada is a 4-star pulling in $9.5 million from Miami and not choosing the highest offer. I mean, it's reported that Florida had $11 million on the table for Jaden Rashada that he turned down to go to the University of Miami. See, these are some of the things that I think that you're looking at from an LSU standpoint, and you say, man, that collective better get in the line pretty quick. Now, I can tell you this. We were working alongside the Players Lounge on Saturday. Aaron Murray and his crew were down in Baton Rouge announcing the launch of what they are titling the Bayou Cat Crew Lounge, which is going to be a part of the Players Lounge, which they feature Discords each week that bring in players from all over the conference. They are having an enormous amount of success in this right now at the University of Georgia. Obviously, anything Georgia football, the alumni is going to buy up right now, right? Reigning national champs, recruiting is on fire, Kirby Smart. They got their coach. They're in love with everything Georgia football. So anything that you put out in front of the fan base, they're going to gobble up. Right now, they're gobbling this stuff up with what the Players Lounge is offering. And it's some stuff that's dealing with some NFTs and the ability to pay players directly. But portions of the proceeds in which the Players Lounge is doing business in these college markets are going to the collective. There are, kind of advantages and benefits for the collective with the Players Lounge that you're starting to see some of these businesses dump money into the collectives. Now, here at LSU, still very early in the process of the collective. It is formed. It is put together. There is a speaking agent for it. There's somebody that's representing the collective that people, like Aaron Murray with the Players Lounge are dealing directly with. But when you start talking about numbers like $9.5 million for one player, $11 million for one player, I don't know how close LSU is to being able to play at that rate. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe there is one player that you can pinpoint and say, hey, look, here's a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract that the collective or a booster or somebody who supports the program is prepared to offer. But when I just talk to people in and around this subject with LSU, in and around the collective, $9.5 million contracts for one player seem very far off. Seem, very impossible right now to do. I would ask you as a fan base. I mean, look, you're going to have to get into these conversations over the next recruiting cycles to make sure you stay relevant, to make sure that you're able to be in the conversations with some of these high-end players. Do you want to pay one player $9.5 million? Do you want to have one player that type of pressure on that position, that prospect, that player from the time he gets into the locker room to the time he walks out on Saturday, to the growing pains that he's going to experience as a young player? It doesn't matter the caliber of player. I mean, there's going to be some adversity at some point for college. Leonard Fournette went through adverse times as an LSU player. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are, how much of a guaranteed prospect you are. At some point, people are going to be against you. Your game's not going to be what it usually is, what you're used to. You're going to have to kind of play yourself out of it. How do you do that with one player who's gaining all that money? How do you handle that? That's the stuff to me in the locker room that could really take a championship contending team and cut its legs out from under them. Mm-hmm. That's the stuff that I don't know if you even want those. Now maybe it balloons into like the coaches market where, 10 years ago, nobody could fathom that Liberty's head coach, Hugh Freeze, is making $3 million a year. And Alabama's head coach is making $12 million a year. And LSU's head coach is making $10 million a year. And Texas A&M's coach is making $11 million a year. And Arkansas's head coach is making $6 million. I mean, like, the number and the money is just stupid. So maybe it balloons and gets to a point where you got to talk these numbers. The market's just this big, and this is the going rate for a starting quarterback. But from LSU's standpoint, I really and truly don't believe they can compete at that rate. I don't know how many teams can, but obviously there's schools that can pull it off. Miami's obviously all in. The John Ruiz guy down there, the billionaire, he's got the NCAA coming down. He doesn't care. He said, I'll open up the books and tell you everything you want to know. I'm not doing anything illegal. I support my school.
Who else could do that? Miami, Texas.
Tennessee's paying $8 million for one.
For one, yeah, that's what
Tennessee's different.
For Nico, and that's where you get into the argument of if it's worth for one player, it's definitely worth it for a quarterback. Like, if you're not one of those schools that's able to be in Miami, at Texas A&M, where you can go all in on multiple positions, then do what I think Tennessee has at least the right idea by going, all right, we can't pay everybody, but we can pay. What would you do in the NFL? Pay your quarterback.
Yeah.
So they got $8 million in the coffer for Nico, who's a 5-star and an absolute stud. He's going to come in and play 4 years, and that's kind of where they put all of their eggs in one basket and hope that if you have the best quarterback in the country, maybe he can at least get you to a New Year's Six bowl. I would say that would be a success for Tennessee. National championship is what they hope for, but if you can get 10 wins for 4 years and you paid $8 million for it, I think any team in the country would sign up for that.
Yeah.
How empty of a feeling it must be for Billy Napier and his staff to wake up after offering a $9.5 or an $11 million NIL deal and missing to a school that's offering less money that's in your state, right? Like, I mean, that has got to be a very empty feeling, because usually in the NFL, these high dollar contracts are going to win out. Right, I mean, there's not as much as the recruiting pitch to it,
right,
as there is in college football. You're still recruiting and offering contracts, and there's still an opportunity. You may get turned down.
That's still just like Miami.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm giving you all the perks, anything you ask for, I'm giving it to you, and then I'm paying you $11 million over the next 4 years, or however the language is written. $11 million total to come to Florida, you're going to receive. No, I'm going to go to Miami for $9.5 million.
What do you say that's a good thing, though, for at least in LSU's recruiting brand? Like, you would say that, okay, there is a hope for people that still want to come play for LSU. There's still merit to that, as opposed to, okay, NIL, I'm going to where the highest number is. There's still kids out there that say, shit, I'm getting offered $11 million, but LSU's offered me $8 million. I've wanted to play for LSU my entire life. Hell, I get money and I get to go to the school that I've always wanted to. There's still the good old college football recruiting aspect to it, which I think is kind of vital for what college football fans want college football to be.
Yeah.
All right, we will revisit this conversation. We're going to talk to Big Ben McDonald next here. We'll obviously get his thoughts on Ole Miss winning the national championship. His friend, his former catcher, Mike Bianco, being able to hoist the crown after 22 years on the job in Oxford. We'll also ask him, where the hell was he? Why was he not on the call? I was almost tuned in to hear what he had to say about Bianco, but we will ask Big Ben where he was over the last couple of days and get some thoughts from him on LSU's weekend. Obviously, what Jay Johnson was able to pull off in the transfer portal and what it means for LSU moving forward, and his thoughts on the SEC, right? With Oklahoma, Ole Miss battling in a national championship game, the Omaha field, littered with SEC Western rivals and teams, and then you throw Oklahoma and Texas in there. 6 of the 8 teams have SEC ties to them. It is something that we will talk about with Big Ben next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, daily, we are brought to you by Fresh Chef Kitchen, freshchefeats.com. Get in touch with Chef Shane today about your pre-made meals here. If you're looking to stay healthy during the summertime and you just don't have the time to put meals together throughout the week, let Fresh Chef Kitchen handle that for you. Online, freshchefeats.com. freshchefeats.com is where you find them online. Use the promo code Jordy10 for a discount over there. Jordy10 over at Fresh Chef Kitchen online.
This is the last week to use that.
Freshchefeats.com. Ben McDonald next. Man,
appreciate
I cannot wait to watch your group play, and the reason we said this to the public, we wanted to get you on, is because everybody that's come through here, recruit, player in the locker room, coaches, have mentioned your name of making an impact on their time or their decision to be at LSU. So keep doing it right, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Like I said, you give our guys a platform. They come in talking about the show, so This is awesome. Nice setup too. I might steal one of these couches.
Yeah, you got it, bro. You got it. We got a lot of gear for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
LSU cornerbacks coach Robert Steeple's in with us for that was great conversation, man.
Appreciate it.
this show in particular, highlighting the players that I've seen come through here, and the coaches. We're grateful to have the opportunity.
Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
I can hear you. You had to take that. For some reason, the headphone, I couldn't hear you guys through the headphones. So I took them off. I think the same thing happened last time. It's weird.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember that promo code over at Chef Kitchen, over at Fresh Chef Kitchen, freshchefeats.com, and you can always use the promo code Jordy10 to save money. Let's go to one of our favorites, Ben McDonald, former LSU great, overall number one pick in the Major League Baseball draft, on the call for the College World Series and for the Baltimore Orioles. Missed him this weekend on the call for Ole Miss and Oklahoma in the national championship game. If you saw social media, there was a lot of people that was kind of melting around and asking, where is Ben McDonald at? Where is Big Ben at? But that had to be a special moment for you, man, watching your good friend of the sport, your former catcher, capture that national championship like Bianco and Ole Miss did over the weekend.
Yeah, I'm happy for Mike. Happy for the Ole Miss fan base, for those players, that coaching staff. Been a long time coming, and obviously been a tough year for Mike and that entire team of being, ranked number one in the country early in the year. And then, it kind of all got sideways. I think they were 7-14 in conference play, and on the outside looking in, for a lot of the year, and people were kind of counting them out, and the fire was getting hot around Mike. I think there was a lot of people, unfortunately, in Oxford. Can't find one now, but at the time wanted Mike Bianco fired. And the team, credit to the coaching staff and all the kids for sticking together and staying with it and sticking with the program and what they wanted to do and the things that they wanted to accomplish. And when they got hot, they really got rolling. But it was good for Mike, and it's crazy. Ole Miss, Mississippi State both win their first titles in back-to-back years, just college baseball. And to me, that's what makes baseball the greatest sport in the world. Is the 64th team in was probably Ole Miss this year. It could never happen in basketball. Like it won't ever happen in basketball where 64 would win the national title. It would never happen in football, but it can happen in baseball. It did this year with Ole Miss, so I'm happy for them.
What happens to a baseball coach's legacy when they accomplish what Bianco did over the weekend? He's been in it so long. He's so well respected. Now with the national championship on the resume, what's it mean for him?
I think it means he'll have a statue in Oxford, Mississippi, in front of the baseball field, Swayze Field. I think that's what it means for him because, I mean, you look at where that program was 22 years ago when Mike took it over, it wasn't relevant at all. Like nobody thought of Ole Miss in a baseball terms. You look at the facilities back then, the fan base back then. You go and look at what he's built there in 22 years and where it is now. I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of what Skip Bertman did at LSU when he took over that program and began to build it to, the national titles that it has now. Mike kind of did the same thing over at Ole Miss where he went in there and he turned baseball into one of the top 5 attendance in all of college baseball. That's what they have now. I'm happy for him and everything they've stuck through, but I think it means, look, it elevates when you win a national title, especially, in the SEC and what he's done. I think it elevates him to the top of the list of one of the greatest coaches in college baseball right now.
Ben, you look at the field in Omaha. 6 of the 8 teams, if you throw Oklahoma and Texas in there, have ties to the SEC. 4 of them came from the SEC West. Can you put into perspective the competition in this league? And when you look at the back, the last 3 national champs all come from the SEC and what the future holds for this sport when you look at the competitive balance now.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of like in football, maybe even more so than football. But this is 13 out of 14 years now the Southeastern Conference has played for the national championship in college baseball. That's how dominant it has been. If you look at the numbers every year in Major League Baseball, the Southeastern Conference puts more guys into the MLB draft than any other conference out there. And there's more guys in the Southeastern Conference playing Major League Baseball than any conference. So it's definitely where the talent, the most talent in college baseball is in the Southeastern Conference. And it's the reason why the conference being in the Southeast mostly is starting to draw from all around the country. You look at all the West Coast kids that are starting. That never was the case 10 years ago. But now you're starting to see a lot of West Coast kids coming towards the Southeastern Conference because it is the premier conference that is out there. Now you start to add Texas and Oklahoma into the equation. The strongest conference is even getting a lot stronger, not just in baseball, in every sport, whether it be football, gymnastics, softball. Heck, Oklahoma almost did something never done before. Your men and women's softball and baseball program had a chance to win the national title. That's never happened before. So you look at where it is, it's pretty impressive. And now you're starting to hear the rumors of each conference being able to do what it wants to do as far as scholarships go. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know if that happens or not. But if it does, really look out then, where the power conference could go as far as that turn. Is it fair? I don't know that it's fair around college baseball because what do you do with your midweek games when you're playing the UL Lafayettes and Southeasterns and around and they don't have as many scholarships? But I guess they'll deal with that, let each conference deal with that. The NCAA has been off the rails lately with a lot of the poor decisions that they have made, and it's kind of where we are now. And so if you're looking for the NCAA to step in and do something, they're not going to do anything. They've shown that with the transfer portal and the NIL stuff that's going on now, and they don't want anything to do with it. And it's a train wreck in itself, in my opinion. But it's where we are right now. That's a subject for a different day. But the Southeastern Conference continues to grow in leaps and bounds. The facilities are second to none. The attendance figures are second to none. And I think it's only going to get stronger as we go through this process.
Ben McDonald joining us here. Obviously, Mike Bianco had a huge weekend capturing the national championship. Jay Johnson had an enormous weekend with LSU baseball, scooping up a couple of transfers. And then, Ben, the news I want to start with you, I want to get your thoughts on, was him taking Wes Johnson off the Minnesota Twins staff. That's an active Major League Baseball pitching coach with SEC ties that he takes in the middle of the season. I mean, the All-Star break's coming up here on July 19th, and LSU made a move at the Twins pitching coach and got him. They doubled his salary, but when you saw that, what was your reaction?
I think Jay had a slam dunk weekend, right? I mean, he didn't hit one homer, he hit 3 grand slams, it feels like, I mean, you go get Wes Johnson, who began his career at Mississippi State and then went to Arkansas. And one of the few that I can remember, I think it was one other guy that may have done this, went straight from the college ranks at not only in the pro ball, he goes straight to the big leagues with Minnesota. And then how about this? He's on a first-place team that won a division title last year. They're in first place this year. They got a top 11 ERA in all of Major League Baseball, and yet Wes Johnson's leaving Minnesota to come to be the pitching coach at LSU. And so that says a lot in itself, and that's huge because now you can walk in with Wes Johnson to a junior year, a kid that's in junior in high school, and say, listen, I got a big league pitching coach that's been in the big leagues now. He's developed talent. He knows what it takes to get to the big leagues. You want to get to the big leagues, don't you? Well, this guy has been there. He's coached it. He's done it. He knows what it takes. That's a big recruiting tool for Jay at LSU to have Wes there. And so it's huge. I don't remember one time where a major league pitching coach has come to the collegiate level. So it's a first, especially in the middle of a season when your team's in first place. So that's a slam dunk. Then you go get Tommy White from NC State, the best kid in the transfer portal this year. The power numbers he put up last year. Now he's a first baseman, so interesting to see. Between him and Trey Morgan, does Tommy maybe go over to third base? Can they put him at third base versus first base? What will he be his role at LSU? You get Christian Little from Vanderbilt, who went to school, by the way, as a 16-year-old at Vanderbilt. Just turned 17 when he got to campus a couple of years ago. So he's still a baby in a lot of ways. He's only 19 years old, I think. But yet, beginning his third year of college coming up. So he's a young guy with a big upside, and he's grown a lot the last couple of years. And so with others, the kid over at Creighton recently that they committed, now he may get lost in the draft, but is a giant recruiting class coming in. And if you're an LSU fan, you just got to pray that a lot of those kids don't turn pro. There's a lot of big-time prospects in there that probably will, but if you're an LSU fan, you just hope some of those kids slip through the cracks in some ways and end up on campus. If it ends up on campus, it can be huge for LSU because I'll just take you back to this year's College World Series field. Oklahoma was a below 500 team last year. They end up at the College World Series. They play for a national title. Auburn was a 500 team last year overall. They make it to Omaha. And then don't forget about Texas A&M. They were right at 500 last year too, 9-21 in conference play, and yet they win 19 games this year and make it to Omaha. So with the recruiting being what it is, the transfer portal being what it is, you can quickly turn your program. Now, LSU didn't have that kind of program or team this year. They had a pretty good team, I felt like, and did pretty good. So what I'm getting at is you can turn your program around very quickly in today's game.
Ben, if I gave you the budget and the resources like LSU has, what is the pitching staff that you have to have built to make it to the final weekend in college baseball? What's the number? What's the ratio righties to lefties that you're looking for to be able to navigate the schedule of college baseball and make it all the way to the end like Ole Miss did?
Well, I mean, you got to be deep, right? And you got to be able to develop along the way. And I think that's where Wes Johnson is going. I'll give you – I mean, Ole Miss is a perfect example, right? I mean, Dylan DeLucia, who ended up being the best pitcher in college baseball the last month of the season for Ole Miss, didn't even begin the year in the rotation for Ole Miss. He was a reliever. Hunter Elliott, who ended up being their number 2 guy, spent most of the year in the bullpen too for Ole Miss. But Mike Bianco, out of necessity, because his starters that he had plugged in there weren't getting the job done, they go get DeLucia, they get Hunter Elliott right after the midway point of the season, and he plugs those 2 guys in to the weekend rotation. All of a sudden, Ole Miss begins to take off in some ways, and those guys were obviously huge down the stretch for Ole Miss. And so you got to be able to develop guys. And what we see more and more at the college level is you start to see guys that maybe weren't big pieces for you early through the year, but you kept working with them. You kept getting their feet wet in some ways. And yet when you got to the biggest moments of the season, you were able to plug some guys in that made a difference for you. I think if we go back and look at the Oklahoma pitcher that pitched yesterday that was great again. I mean, he was a guy that came in with an ERA, if I'm not mistaken, north of 5 all year long, and yet he ends up throwing 2 or 3 great games in Omaha and in the postseason and really boosted his draft stock. So what I'm getting at is you got to be able to develop talent. You got to have the right coaching skills, I guess, to understand when it's time to move certain pieces of puzzle in it and kind of get it going in some ways. And I think that's what it's going to take for Jay. Jay was behind the 8 ball in pitching this year. There's no doubt about that. And if it weren't for the guys that Jay brought in, I mean, you talk about Raiselman, you talk about Gervais, you talk about Riley Cooper, you talk about Collins. Those are all guys that Jay brought in once he took the job at LSU this past year. Now, just think where they would be without those 4 guys. And so maybe LSU gets lucky and Razelman and or Gervais end up back on campus, depending on what their numbers are in the draft this year. They'll both get drafted, but the question is, what's the number and will they come back at school? But Jay's going to need to get some more pitching in there and be able to develop it. That's going to be the key, is getting guys on campus and then being able to grow them and make them better.
Ben, obviously the last time we talked to you, you had seen something from Tennessee. The whole country had seen it on their talent level, just kind of the swagger that they were playing with. And you said, look for these guys to have an undefeated postseason and get after this national championship. What did you see the baseball gods throw the roadblocks up on the Volunteers for? What did you see was kind of their kryptonite?
Well, I don't know that they had a kryptonite. It's still the best baseball team I think I've seen, the most deepest at every level that I've seen. But it's a testament again to why baseball is the greatest game in the world, right? I mean, it's 1999, we went to a 64-team field in baseball. The number one seed in 1999 was the Miami Hurricanes. They won the national title. Since then, not one number one seed has won the national title. That's 23 years or 22 years in a row now. The number one seed has not won the national title. So it's just a testament to how difficult it is to win the national championship in college baseball. It's tougher than any other sport to be able to do it, and that's the proof of it. I mean, you go back 22 straight years and the number one seed doesn't win the national title. It's a pretty amazing number. If there was ever a team that was going to win it, it was probably going to be Tennessee. But I'll take you back to '89 when we knocked off Texas A&M at their own ballpark. If there was ever a team that was going to win it, it was probably going to be Texas A&M at the time. I think they were 57-5 on the year, and we went in there and beat them twice in the same day. So it's just difficult. It's just baseball in some ways. But if you line that Tennessee team up enough times against everybody else, I promise you they would have come out on top. But all you got to do is have one off weekend, and you don't make it to the College World Series.
Primary Major League Baseball for you now, huh? Kind of the schedule shifts after the last month of kind of going back and forth. What's your schedule like now here going into? I know the All-Star breaks on the 19th, but how's it look for you the rest of the way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaving Wednesday and meeting the Orioles up in Minnesota against the Twins, and then on to Baltimore. So yeah, I'll be busy. I got 55 more games to do with the Orioles, and so I'll be back and forth a lot. This second half of the season coming up for the All-Star break. But now that the college season is over, at least when I'm home, I'll have some off time. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I've weathered the worst part of the storm trying to juggle both of them. But what a fabulous year it was in college baseball. I'm happy again for Mike Bianco and to get everybody off his back and that program that's been so deserving over the years. It's been a heck of a college season again, and the game continues to grow in leaps and bounds, which is fun for me to see from the time that I was playing it many years ago and where the college game is today. It's a really good product that's out there.
Ben, I know it sucks that they're in the AL East, but they're 7-3 over their last 10, and Baltimore seems to be playing better baseball. What do you expect from them in the second half?
Yeah, they the Orioles are tired of getting beat on, to be honest with you. Like, it's been a program and an organization that's taken their lumps. It's been a big rebuild for the Orioles. You're going back the last 3 or 4 years. It's been, and I always tell people this, competing in the AL East is kind of like competing in the Southeastern Conference in football or the Southeastern Conference West in baseball. You can't be kind of good to be when you're in there with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and the Rays. You can't be kind of good to compete. It's not like a rebuild in the American League Central Division where if you're a little bit above 500, you got a chance to be in the playoffs. That could never happen in the AL East. And so it's taken longer than what people wanted. Mike Elias, the new general manager, came in 3 or 4 years ago, and he totally revamped an organization from one of the worst in the minor league systems to the number one minor league system out there right now. Adley Rutschman just made his debut, the number one prospect in baseball, about a month ago. Grayson Rodriguez was coming, the number one pitching prospect in baseball, but had an injury. He may not pitch again this year, but it's not a serious injury, but it continues to grow. And the good news for the Orioles is they have the number one pick in the draft coming up in just a few weeks from now, and they've got 6 picks, and I think in the top 70 they got 6 picks. So it's an organization that's quickly turning itself around. The fan base is starting to come back, and they're playing really good baseball right now with really a bunch of no-name type guys that are on the field right now. But to make your point, they're tired of getting punched. They're starting to punch back a little bit now, which is fun to see with a young position player group that's out there.
Just saw Miss Nicole walk through. Tell the McDonalds to have a good morning. Thank you for checking in, Ben. It's great to talk to you.
Anytime, guys. Take care of yourself.
You got it. There he is. Big Ben McDonald checking in this morning, giving us the latest on SEC, Omaha, and Ole Miss. His good friend, Mike Bianco, former catcher here at LSU, hoisting the trophy after 22 years in Oxford. That is cool to see, man. Our friends over at RMB, remember Rhett Bourgeois and the crew over at rmb-builders.com. They've done so many projects for us around the studio, around the house. In fact, they're over at Katie's house.
They are over
right
at my
now.
house.
What's going on over there, Katie?
Doing some renovation work.
With Rhett. Help me out here. Help me out.
You need me to be more specific?
Yes.
I don't really
What
wanna
it's like
be.
dealing with Rhett. What it's like.
Oh,
You've
it's
dealt with him so many
amazing
times.
It's a
With Rhett.
testimonial, Katie.
Yep, doing some work.
Doing some work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's
David,
there.
David should be nervous. I was doing a
Rhett
lot of
is
work.
Amazing. He's so easy. He's so laid back, but he's on the ball, and everything is exactly as planned. It's going as planned. He tells you who's coming on this day. They show up on that day.
rmb-builders.com.
I didn't wanna get too specific.
rmb-builders.com
Adding
is
a
where you can
fifth
find
floor.
My address is.
Yeah.
Online, rmb-builders.com. Rhett Bourgeois and the crew. Thanks to
They're
Ben
great.
McDonald. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard.
Looking to book a dumpster but no idea how? We've made it quick and easy for you. Check out our website at moralesrolloffs.com. Let Morales Roll-Offs know your desired delivery date, and finally, provide your contact details. To make payment, look out for an email invoice with all your booking details. On delivery day, our driver will notify you through text and email that your dumpster is ready and on the way. Now you know how easy and convenient it is. Call Morales Roll-Offs at 225-427-0000 for your dumpster.
City Cafe online at citycafebr.net, where good friends meet. Great food and even better service, located in the shopping center behind Rite Aid on the corner of George O'Neill and O'Neill Lane. They cater for parties big and small. Sundays, they serve a fantastic brunch that starts at 10 a.m. They have daily lunch specials, and remember, you can look at everything online at citycafebr.net. We'll give a shout-out to Squeaky Miranda, Cody Miranda, Dirk and the crew, everybody over at City Cafe for their support here, the Jordy Culotta Show, online, citycafebr.net.
Now I'm docking.
Juicy. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember online, GEAUXChevrolet.com, GEAUXChevrolet.com is where you can find them online. We appreciate their support here for always bringing you the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button. Good stuff from Ben McDonald checking in this morning as Big Ben was wrapping up the weekend for Ole Miss, looking ahead for LSU baseball, talking about what Jay Johnson was able to accomplish over the weekend as he was cleaning up in the transfer portal. Tommy White got the news going on Friday. 10 minutes later, Christian Little, the righty who, as you heard, Ben McDonald said, reported to Vanderbilt at 16 years old.
How smart is that cat?
I mean, good
That's amazing.
Lord. And not only that, from a baseball pitching standpoint, he's not even nearly, close to developed.
No. Why would he do that?
I don't know. I guess
you redshirt and get excellent coaching at Vanderbilt for a year, but you still go in as a freshman.
You start your clock,
right?
I mean, you start your eligibility clock for sure. I mean, but I even think from a scout standpoint, I mean, if he's viable enough to get a Vanderbilt scholarship or at least Vanderbilt's attention to join the pitching staff, there must be high hopes for this kid, right? I mean, you're looking down the line and you think the future and the potential of what he could be is what you're really is what you're betting on, is what you're banking on.
He must be a mature kid.
He's got to be. He has to be that. But just from a physical standpoint, I mean, how much different is your body from 16 to 18?
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 to 20.
And he pitched as a freshman.
So
14 appearances his freshman year, so he never redshirted.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then you've got. What got lost in the news last week was that they picked up the guy that Mikey had on, Jack Panetta, the shortstop from Baylor.
Baylor shortstop.
I mean, the
absolutely.
leadoff guy. I mean, that's another. I mean, everybody's like, is Jordan Thompson transferred? I don't think that was. I mean, like Thompson's banging the ball up in.
I don't know where he is, but I don't know where
he's in Cape Cod.
If he's in the Cod, but I know he's playing third base.
I think
Cape.
he's in the Cape, but like they had some.
Double C.
I had some friends tell me that Jordan Thompson wasn't going to be on the team next year. I was like,
hell no,
this dude has a bet out of this world.
crazy.
Jay Johnson's going to.
He's going to find a spot for it.
If you got offense, you can play.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
and that's what LSU
ask
fans.
Gio. I mean, that's what happened to Gio Giacomo. I mean, Gio looks like the ideal center fielder. You know
runs
what I mean?
like it for sure. Can
if
track
you could
anything
sketch
down.
a center fielder, you'd be like, that's what they look like. He can run like that, but then his offense is so inconsistent. It doesn't matter how much they trust you in the field. You can't get onto the field at LSU if you can't hold 300 for a month. You know what I mean?
No,
if
absolutely.
you can't hit 300 for a month
all year.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? You got to be consistent. You got to be offensively. You got to be somebody that can hit to make it at LSU. And if your glove is inconsistent, it's okay. You know, one thing about Jordan Thompson last year, he never came out of the lineup.
Right.
You
They
know,
moved him to second.
For as much as he was struggling in the field, and they were hoping he'd get it right, they never benched him.
No, because they could swing it.
Because he could, he's got the offensive firepower to stick around. So, we lost. I mean, not lost, but kind of got lost in the news last week. Was Jack Panetta?
Panetta probably moving over to play short. Then you see Thompson, whatever league he's in. If it's not Cape Cod, I don't know where he is, but he's playing summer ball somewhere. He was playing third, but also Tommy Tanks would come over and he plays third base. So I'd imagine you'd see Thompson probably shift to second or Panetta shift to second. It'd be one of the two.
Yeah.
I would imagine Thompson probably is going to be the one on the move after the inconsistent defense last year. But you saw how important a guy like Milazzo would be. I think he would be the one guy that you'd be willing to sacrifice behind the plate.
Yeah.
Because, you saw Oklahoma, how they lost Ole Miss yesterday.
Yeah.
It was
a couple of pass balls,
and the game just gets away from you.
Yeah.
You need somebody back there that, I don't care if you hit 210, 225. If you can corral the pitching staff and be able to block, everybody's throwing harder now. If you're able to at least be a force behind the plate, give me something on the defensive end. If that's the one position you have to sacrifice, I'm good with that being a catcher.
Louis Caro says, huge, I was 16 entering my senior year, 17 when I graduated, and didn't turn 18 until December. It was crazy how much I matured and grew from 16 to 19-ish. Matt House, the LSU defensive coordinator, was here on Friday, And he was talking about the evaluation period that they have right now that, look, there's still some seniors on the clock for LSU as far as being able to pick up an offer. House told a couple of guys at camp last week that they still want to see a couple of games of your senior season. I mean, they're still evaluating you into that portion of your development, up to your your physical capabilities at that point. So even more impressive of Christian Little. I mean, to be able to be on a college campus at 16 and producing for a high-end baseball program at that age where, physically, you've still not really tapped into your body changing.
You weren't even really allowed to work out the way that you're supposed to, I'd imagine. Like, you have to be on a different kind of trajectory than everybody else. Like, you're not able to, your body ain't ready to do like a bunch of, I would imagine, high-level college workouts. Like, you don't, especially as a pitcher, you don't want to put any, because you're still growing. You don't want to put strain on your arm, strain on like different parts of your body that aren't really physically there yet. I didn't know he was that young. That's unbelievable.
It is. Really is. It's wild. That was a lot like Stingley. When Stingley,
he was.
But you can go back. Shaquille O'Neal was 17 years old when he got to LSU's campus. A young 17 years old.
There are a lot of 17 years-olds that start college, right? Especially in Louisiana.
There are.
But not 16.
But 16.
Not 16.
Not 16. And not out of North Louisiana. They hold them back until they're 20.
Yeah. They're driving to the JV games.
There's a reason why Will Campbell looks like he's... he walked in that room on Saturday, man. You forget just how big that kid is.
He is huge.
He is enormous walking around, guys of his peers, even standing next to Emory Jones, who's a unit, it's like,
but he still
look
looks
at
like a
Campbell.
baby.
They both have like baby quality.
They both have baby faces.
Knows how to take care of dog though.
Yeah, that man could have bellied up to that bar and said 2 Coors Lights, and they'd have been like, "Here you go, sir."
I don't think so. He looks so
I'm saying
young.
his voice and his body,
Yes.
his face does. He
Yeah.
looks like he's 18.
He does.
No,
he
looks like
he's
16.
he looks 16.
But
Just a
his
huge
everything,
kid.
he's put together everywhere else, and his voice is hilarious. Like
It is.
and a boy don't know no dog.
It's
Can't take care of no dog.
Will Campbell's freshman photo, team photo, the one of him in the blazer and the tie. I'm sure you can pull it up now because they've already taken it. Will be one of those that you look back on it and you're like, oh my God. 3 years from now, you'll be like, look at Will Campbell.
He's going to change.
He's a
so
baby.
Dude's about to be like Whitworth.
Mm-hmm.
His face will look completely different.
Completely
in 2
different.
years.
So will Emory Jones's. SEC Media Days coming up a month from now.
Are you looking at the picture?
He looks 15.
He does.
But he's
Starting left tackle.
Yeah, 6'6", 310.
Starting left tackle. Game 1, play 1.
No doubt. Personal foul 1.
Eddie Haskell says when Shaq was first here, you couldn't see him when he was turned sideways. That's true. If you go back and look at Shaquille O'Neal's freshman season, that's back when he wore the knee pads and the elbow pads and the undershirt. He wore the under t-shirt. He wore the elbow pads and the knee pads as this young 17-year-old freshman because he spent a lot of time on the ground. Shaq would fall a lot because he was still not
giraffe
strong
legs.
enough to really hold his body up. When you look back on it, I guess we'd look back on Stingley. Stingley played his entire freshman season at 17 years old.
Yeah, but when you talk about Stingley, he was physically there, physically mature and put together to where you're it's a little bit like Will Campbell in that sense. So
even scientifically, though, your body changes.
Yeah, look at
from
him now.
17 to 20. Yeah, right, exactly. And he's still got another. When he's 24, he's going to look totally different. If you pull up clips of his grandfather when he was in his prime, when he was the dude. At one point, Darryl Stingley was the best wide receiver in the NFL for at least, maybe a year or two. He was recognized as one of the best wide receivers in football. And he is put together. Stingley's.
The lineage is obvious.
Yeah, but Stingley, even Darryl's son, Derek Stingley Sr., is not as long as his dad and his son is. Stingley Jr. is more comped to his grandfather.
Yeah.
Derek's dad
is a tank.
He was a stud baseball player.
Yeah.
If you look up his baseball highlights, he could run like that, but he was a different type of athlete. He couldn't play wide receiver in DB, right? Like he was more of a running back or more of like a linebacker,
right?
Where he'd come up and he'd hit you, but he still had that speed to him. I mean, Stingley and his grandson, Daryl Stingley and Derek Stingley Jr. I mean, they look like Adonis.
Yeah,
they look like almost like Mr. Olympia, almost like Mr. World. The way
he carved out of granite.
Their physiques are just, and they're long and just different type of athletes. So, I don't know how we got here.
Hayden says, "I'm out. Have a great week. LSU is great. America is going great." Poor Hayden.
Going
he's
through
just
it.
melting today.
I hope he's not working today.
Jeez, he's done for the day, I think.
Pour up, dude. It's never too early to have a little cocktail if you don't feel good.
Anybody see Burrow's interview with Chris Sims?
No,
I watched a little bit.
It's a little awkward.
Oh yeah, he wants to be in the club.
He wants to be in the club. But it's
funny, right?
It was kind of funny. I mean, I think that Burrow helps him out with it. You know what I mean? He kind of like lets him into the club.
You can come sit at the cool kids table for 15 minutes.
Yeah, here's your 19 minutes. Chris.
Yeah, great, cool. All right, we're not friends.
But it was a good interview on.
Can I get your number after? No, we can just go through.
Yeah, right. At the end of it, he's like putting on something. And Joe's like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But it's a good 19-minute sit down with Burrow, kind of where he is now from a mental standpoint, kind of the growth of Joe Burrow. He's kind of past the point of being Cinderella. I mean, I think for a while there, I mean, nobody expected his senior season at LSU. Nobody expected him to be the number 1 overall pick. Nobody expected him to even, like, I think, push for Rookie of the Year before the injury. And then, without question, nobody expected him to, in year 2, take him to the Super Bowl.
The Bengals.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of what Sims' approach is like, man, you've made Cincinnati cool again. Or cool. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, he was talking like referencing. Before? I don't know if it ever was.
No, it was never cool.
I mean, Icky Woods, the Icky Shuffle, maybe it was cool for a year. They went to the Super Bowl versus those San Francisco teams. But, I mean, at one point, for a long, extended amount of time, they were recognized as, like, the worst franchise in sports. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were like the Los Angeles Clippers. You know, I mean, they were that bad.
What if Burrow was paid $9.5 million as a college quarterback?
He probably would have made 20.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see, but I don't
would you
know.
Feel differently about
I don't know if he
like,
would have because you didn't know Burrow was Burrow until his senior year.
Until it was too late.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that there would definitely been people looked at the LSU starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Walk-ons paid Miles Brennan. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If Brennan's the starter, he'll see more NIL deals. You know what I mean? Hollingsworth Ford, I believe, last year gave him a truck before the season started.
Mm-hmm. They did.
She gave him some shoes.
Yeah, I think it was that weekend.
I bet it was taking the boat. Dude, take the boat out, new truck.
I think it was like they announced it on Friday, and like on Sunday he was in surgery.
He just got the truck.
He just got
Link up the boat. Let's back it up into the water. I'll bring my boys with me.
Because I saw where Leonard Fournette was on with Rich Eisen, and Eisen asked Fournette. Yeah, it's weird.
Rich has a very interesting interview technique.
Leonard. Would you talk on that, Leonard? But he asked Booga on what he thinks he would have demanded from an NIL standpoint at LSU. And see, like Leonard, it makes a little bit more sense, right? Like he came in here as the number 1 player in the country. He came with so much hype that his freshman season he was pretty good. But anybody that was looking at it, you were
two eyes.
This guy's about to explode his sophomore season. Nobody knew that he was going to become, like just rewrite the record books. I think he had 1,000 yards through 5 games.
Mm-hmm. No Heisman.
So at that point,
no Doak Walker.
Think about the money that would have been, and then he had 1 more year left after his sophomore year. That's when people would have been like, "Hey, man, I'll pay you $1.5 million just to promote what I got." I mean, his brand was that large. By the time Burrow was figured out that this guy is revolutionary, he's once in a lifetime, he's once in a generation player, they were playing Alabama. You know what I mean? Like the season was nearly over before you could really capitalize on being able to. I mean, somebody would have probably picked him up the last month of the year and thrown a ton of cash at him. But the Fournette story is really how you make all the money in today's college football. You're a hyped-up recruit. You come in, have a pretty good freshman season where it leaves people looking like you're about to explode on the second year, and then you got another year of eligibility remaining. I mean, that's when you really have negotiating power to sit down and say, hey, look, I'm going to be here for a while, or I don't even have to play.
Right. That's exactly why you go to the NIL table.
Exactly.
Like, look, you could have.
It's like Oscar Tshiebwe at Kentucky.
Right.
He'd have been a top 5 pick in the lottery, but Calipari's got a friend or somebody who he can call and say, hey, give him $2 million. Pay him $2.5 million. He's going to be the best player in college basketball next year. He doesn't even have to play. Put him on your payroll, and he's able to, endorse your brand, wear your logo outside of anything that he's doing from a team standpoint.
And you could say that
think about Tshiebwe 3 years ago. He's long gone. Long gone.
Yeah, no reason for you to ever come back. Absolutely.
He's a national player of the year, and he's back in school.
Which would never happen, especially in college basketball. But the same thing I would say for Jamar Chase. If NIL had been around, at least in this capacity, you'd have been able to maybe keep Jamar Chase on campus for his junior year because he had that same ascension as Leonard. I would say probably even a bigger jump from sophomore to junior maybe because you didn't really know much about him his freshman year. But his sophomore year where he scores, 19 touchdowns at wide receiver, going into his junior year, 20 tuds, comes in number 7, all of the hype around him, that's NIL.com.
Absolutely.
And then he's just actually 100%. I'm good. Let me run a 4.33 at Pro Day and I'll be on out of here.
Fournette was still paid, Hunter Fournette. He was. He absolutely was.
Sure.
But he was not paid what he could have made. He was not paid what he actually brought in. You know what I mean? I think NIL was kind of made for it. The intention of it was made for somebody like Fournette, where, you're selling the 7 jerseys. You've got the Tiger head with the braces on around Tiger 7. You're obviously making reference to this player. He should be able to capitalize on his name, image, and likeness. That's where Burrow would have made all the money, was if he would have gotten a cut of the number 9 jerseys that were being sold. That's where he would have made, because that would have just, the stock line on that from, the Georgia State game to the conference play was probably, it was probably falling backwards. It was so vertical. It was just, you couldn't buy it fast enough. So, but I think that the intent of NIL was made for a guy like Leonard, who comes on to a campus with all this hype. And as soon as he touches down, you're selling 7 jerseys. And then he's not even really arrived yet. But then once he arrives, everybody's on board, right? And then he's got another season left. People were probably looking at that and saying Fournette was probably an example of, the tickets went up, the ticket buying went up. People were buying 7 jerseys. People were interested in LSU along that. He should have been able to benefit from that.
And he had a little bit of his own branding already. This is before really social media took off, but he had the Booga Nation that he was pushing all the time. He had a brand already. And if you have NIL stuff that you can trademark around that, that's another test case for how you can help student athletes or whatever make NIL money in the original, how it was drawn up, I would imagine. Now it is something totally different. That's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Think back to Tyrann Mathieu in NIL after his freshman season. Nobody even knew who Tyrann Mathieu was when he came in. Hell, Les Miles didn't know who he was at a camp his senior season when Frank Wilson had to say, Coach, offer this kid. Offer him now. You got to get him in. And then, he's making plays against North Carolina in the opening game. By the end of the season in the Cotton Bowl, he's the best player on the field. Coming back for his sophomore season, people would have been lined up to get him. And then even if you're not lined up to get him for his sophomore year, after the first game of his second season, you're like, I'm in now. You know what I mean? How much? Where's it start? And then by the time he's at the end of the year, he's probably making a couple of million. This is 2010.
It's probably a blessing that didn't happen for him.
Sure it is.
Probably is.
Sure it is.
I'm sure he'd be the first one to tell you.
And there's still cautionary tales yet to be written that are going to be exposed because of stuff like this. Jaden Rashada showing up to Miami's campus with $9.5 million committed to him. $9.5 million to South Beach, and he ain't from there. God. You know what I mean? He's showing up to Miami as a first-time visitor with cash at 18.
Give me that.
You want to write a movie that says we're going to have an issue? Give an 18-year-old quarterback millions of dollars in Miami and he ain't never been. You know what I mean?
It's showtime.
Watch this.
Yeah, it's
watch
Magic showing up in LA with I'm from what? Michigan State, the little old city in Michigan, and they're like, oh, go to LA. Everybody's pulling you in a million different directions. It's I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Is this bad? Is this good? It's
right.
Well, I'm having a great time.
He'll drop a first million at 11 right off the bat.
I mean, it's wild, man.
Prime 112.
What's that?
The steakhouse there.
Oh, 11's the strip club there
Oh,
in Miami.
is that where y'all went? You brought the kids?
Not this
Well,
trip, but
the
trip
club
before
is
we
it's
did.
Live.
Live.
Right? Live.
11?
No, Live. L-I-V.
There's one called
and it's-
11.
And then this is
Oh,
like the
like how
nightclub.
The nightclub where all the rappers go is Live.
And that's
Okay.
in a hotel? Is it in the...
I'm talking about a strip club called
Yeah.
11.
Yeah.
It's a nice one, like a really nice one.
But I mean, like, Live has won the Miami Heat and the Miami Dolphins a lot of games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Miami
like,
flu.
Like, absolutely. I mean, like, a lot of people who have never been to Live that make the first trip to play the Heat, you know what I mean? Like, the Heat have somebody on staff that are usually like, yo, fellas, have y'all hit Live yet? You know what I mean? Like,
ain't go to Live.
especially you, Carl Anthony Towns. We really need you to come check. We got a room and bottle service set
James
up for
Harden's
you
here
tonight.
from last week.
Yeah, right. Next thing you
Harden's
know,
still
I mean,
waiting in the back room.
everybody's superstars are always like sitting out in street clothes in Miami. You know, like, oh, you know what? Carl Anthony Towns is a game time scratch.
Sick.
Yeah.
I think I left my card there.
You're right. All right,
call
have a
her.
great day. Make sure to hit that like and share button. Really looking forward to tuning in to Mic'd Up tonight to see what his reaction was from this college baseball weekend, whether it was Bianco and Ole Miss winning the national championship or LSU just cleaning up in the transfer portal and then announcing Wes Johnson, the pitching coach, as they plucked him away from the Minnesota Twins, who are leading their division right now. They're number one in their division.
The news broke while he was playing cards with the rest of the coaches, and he's like, "Ooh,
Oh, wow.
I'll finish up this road trip." He's like, well, "Yeah, we're already on the way."
Yeah. Wes, what's going on here, buddy?
They offered me double coach. I'm all in.
LSU, man, aggressive with they are leading the AL Central right now. The Minnesota Twins are 41-33 with a 2-game lead over the Cleveland Guardians right now in the
Guardians.
AL Central.
But mic'd up tonight, 6 to 8. We have Dylan T-Break, the Creighton transfer, coming on the show.
Oh, wow,
Oh,
nice.
Yep.
cool.
Nice.
Got a line out to Tommy
So
Tanks.
we're
We'll
done
see.
after today talking about LSU and the College World Series, right? This is
Never.
it.
I
mean,
no,
not LSU.
not at all.
No,
Sorry.
no,
Ole Miss.
Carl Joseph
Ole
has asked me
We're
3
done.
times to name the lineup for LSU baseball next season. Carl, I couldn't do that.
Tune
if you
in from
put $1
six-
million on the table
Tune in
in
from
front
6
of
to
everybody.
8.
But mic'd up can, I promise you.
Yeah.
Mikey can do that, 6 to 8 o'clock. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate you being out there. Make sure you subscribe if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel. Have a great Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.